What's a basic skill you're shocked some adults still don't know? Story 1: How to look something up. There's a massive amount of full-grown adults who just don't look things up, despite having easy access to the internet, and go around begging for help with the most basic of tasks. Story 2: Reading comprehension. I work with many people ranging from the ages of 20 to 60, and quite a few of them just can't seem to understand written instructions that are more than a sentence or two in length. They absolutely can recognize English words written down, they even know what these words mean, but too many of them in a row and they just kinda check out. It isn't everyone for sure, but a good 13% of the people I work with seem to be functionally illiterate just due to having no reading comprehension, and it isn't just young people either. I just don't understand how people can go through life like that. Story 3: Not really a skill, but a trait: basic curiosity. Why did you quit wondering why? Many little kids will ask why, until your ears fall off from hearing it, but then at some point they grow out of it, and why no longer matters to them. But why is arguably the most important question we can ever ask about anything. Story 4: An understanding of contractions. Should've, could've, would've, not should've, could've, and would've. The VE part is a contraction of the word have, should have, could have, would have. Story 5: I'm always amazed by people that can't cook. I also wonder how much I've contributed to holding non-cooks down. Because like my friend group learned over time who can and who can't, and we just took over planning like BBQs, Super Bowls, gatherings, whatever, they don't get a chance. Story 6: Adults that don't teach their children how to act civilized. They think it's cute when a kid curses. My kid knew that she could hear bad words but not to say them. My kid has a mouth like a sailor now, but her daughter knows she can't talk like that. Parents need to parent, that's where it begins. Story 7: Not sure if basic or not, but understand that there is a life beside the job. Some people just force the others to put everything into the ill-paid job. Them, how to handle being told no. Story 8: Pluralization. Stop using apostrophes. There is one reason to use apostrophes in pluralization, and I'm not even going to say it, because doing that one thing wrong is better than doing the other 99 of things wrong. Just stop, it's S or ES, like you learned in 2nd grade. Story 9: Emotional intelligence is something I see a lot of adults lacking. People assume that by being honest that's emotional intelligence when really it's not that simple. Connecting with your fellow human beings, being able to empathize, being able to read the room, being able to understand when you're putting your foot in your mouth, these are emotional intelligent moments. You understand that what you're saying and what you're doing have consequences, but you're choosing to ignore them because you think you're being honest when really you're being in. People really need to take a class on this stuff if they're going out into the world and thinking that this is okay when really it's not. It's going to be an easy reason for why you get decked in the face. Story 10: A very unconventional response from me. I know, and it's not a basic skill, but I think that CPR should be a basic skill that every adult should know at a very basic level. It can literally save the life of a loved one or a stranger on the street. Anyways, back to a basic skill: cooking. Story 11: Being alone. You need to know how to live alone and thrive. So many people are so terrified of being without someone they will stay in dangerous situations to avoid it. Story 12: Spelling and grammar, like to, and there, and there, etc. You'll never take anyone seriously who writes you are instead of you are or your. Story 13: Clearing space on computers and cell phones. Very basic security practices. How to say what they mean. Very basic vehicle maintenance, tire changes and rotation. That certain fluids need changed or checked occasionally. Basic electronics. What voltage and amperage mean. Why it's a bad idea to plug a heater into an extension cord, etc. Basic understanding of human health, including that fast processed food is bad. Basic cooking, ETA. I need to learn line breaks on mobile. Story 14: How to use jumper cables. I always have them in my car, and when someone asks for a jump, or even offers to help me, they just sit back completely dumbfounded as I hook everything up. Story 15: Apologizing, especially to their own children. I know so many adults who refuse to apologize to their kids, which boggles my mind a bit. I think apologizing to my kids is like a one parenting rules. Parents mess up a lot, and explaining to your kids that you messed up and you're sorry, and you'll do better next time is the basic floor of parenting. I get emotional, I make bad choices, I overreact. My kids know that when I do, I will apologize wholeheartedly, explain why I got it wrong, and talk about how we move forward. So many parents seem to see this as a weakness, but I see it as a strength. My kids know I'm not perfect, they know and they know I'm sometimes irrational, but they also know that when I'm irrational I'm going to reassess that and realize I was being usually because I realize it on my own, but sometimes because they call it out and they're right. I apologize to my kids all the time. I apologize if I accidentally step on them or move their jacket. I apologize when I make a big mistake about classroom placement or grounding them forever. And the thing is, with my example, my kids apologize to me. They don't see anything shameful about it. They understand that when you make an accidental mistake, you apologize and you attempt to make it right. They apologize when they step on my foot or knock my coat down. They apologize when they mess up in a big way. I am never mad. There is always a reason. A lot of adults make apologies very transactional. I apologize for this limited thing. You forgive me for this limited thing. But I apologize to my kids freely and copiously, because I do dumb as a parent, and they deserve to hear I made a bad choice. And in return they seem to apologize to me freely and copiously and without reservation. Because there's no shame attached to apologizing. I can ask them, What do you think the consequence should be for this mistake? And they basically always give me a more strict consequence than I would assign. I can also ask them, this up, how can I make it right for you? And they have good answers. Story 16 Cooking. So many of my peers only know DoorDash and pre-made frozen meals. Being able to cook saves so much money. It's not hard, and there's a lot of things you can make on a tight schedule. I know so many people whose skill set ends with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Story 17 Clothing has changed, so it's not a skill often needed. But ironing, I can iron a shirt and basic pants. But anytime I have a dress for an event or pants with pleats, I need to ask my MIL to iron it for me. Story 18 Balancing a checkbook, changing a flat tire, doing a basic service on a car like an oil change or putting on new windshield wipers, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, edit. Okay, I get it, a lot of you don't use checks. Story 19 Adults who drive and can't do basic maintenance on their vehicles. Change a tire, change the oil, a bulb or sensor, replace muffler bearings, fill the blinker fluid. Story 20 Just like the ability to make a basic judgment call, it's a big problem at my job. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes there are rules about how you're supposed to handle a situation, but for the most part, you can literally just handle it. You don't have to ask me for permission to just solve the problem. Story 21 Many of these things I'm seeing posted in here can be attributed to things such as dyslexia, ADHD, autism, anxiety, etc. Try not to judge people without truly knowing them. These things are known as silent or invisible disabilities, but they are very real. Making fun of or calling people out due to their stupidity or lack of intelligence does nothing but hurt these people more and make it even worse for them. Many times people don't even realize they have issues with these things because they haven't been diagnosed, and sometimes, no matter how hard they try, they can't do the things that normal people find easy. Sure, there are some square out there, but try to give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to basic things. The way you see them today may be a huge improvement from where they were 6 months ago, and now you just made them feel like and giving up because they tied their shoelaces wrong. Story 22 In general, I'm shocked at the lack of even somewhat healthy emotional regulation in the general population, and the amount of functioning alcoholics walking around, driving, working that, and the amount who operate through everyday life stoned. Is no one else raw dogging this bullshit? Now I feel like the crazy one. Story 23 Truthfully, it's less skills than knowledge. I'm always amazed at how just basic knowledge is not common knowledge. As one example, the number of Americans who believe the earth is flat. Story 24 Good manners. Be polite. Say please, thank you, I'm sorry, open the door for someone. Wait patiently seems near impossible in these days of instant gratification. Respect others. These are some of the things I write down for cards for newlyweds. Story 25 How to have a conversation. Some people just talk at you or approach you with nothing to say but also won't take a hint to leave. I've been plagued with such people as co-workers. Story 26 How to cook. I don't want to hear it. You can make spaghetti that feeds a family of 4 for less than 5 in less than 20 minutes. The only skill you need is knowing how to boil water. Grilled cheese is 2 pieces of bread and 2 slices of cheese. Some butter if you're fancy. Cook it in a pan for 7 minutes. It costs $0.25. Congrats.
You can feed yourself.
Story 27 Laundry. I used to work in an apartment complex, and the number of 20 to 30-year-olds who would come down and ask for help with their washer dryers was uncanny. And they didn't need work on them or anything. They literally had no idea how to turn them on or what detergent to use or anything. Story 28 I had to fix a leak in my kitchen sink the other day. I got there, but it took several tries, lots of YouTube. Basic plumbing and home repair is just you don't learn unless you go looking for it. Story 29 I wouldn't call it a skill but self-awareness. The amount of people with no regard for anyone else around them is insane. Like, get out of the way, stop walking as slow as humanly possible in the middle of the aisle. Story 30 Mental math. I'm often surprised at how many people don't seem able to do rudimentary mental addition and subtraction. It seems even worse for averages and estimation. Story 31 How to wash dishes by hand. There are a lot of things that are not dishwasher safe. Just rinsing them off under running water and putting them in the rack to dry is not cleaning them. You actually have to use dish soap and either a sponge or wet cloth to wash off all the food residue. And UK, I'm looking at you on this next point. Putting soapy dishes in the rack to dry is not a good idea. It will leave soap residue if you don't rinse them first. Story 32 It's not a skill, but I am convinced a lot of adult humans don't have complete object permanence. A lot of people don't realize that their actions influence things even if they've stopped thinking about it. Story 33 Basic common sense. Some people I meet are so dumb I don't believe how are they living with such an empty brain. They should float it into abyss. Story 34 People who can't shop for groceries within their budget. They'll buy name brand Doritos, cases of Mountain Dew, and pre-made frozen meals, then wonder why their bill is so high at checkout. Story 35 How to fill in a form. I work in a medical office and the amount of people that can't fill in a basic form with their own information is shocking. Name, birthday, address, phone number, allergies, and medical conditions. These are the bits of easy information you should know about yourself. A ton of people just fill in name, address, and maybe birthday and then hand it back. If you ask them so no allergies or medical conditions, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm allergic to penicillin and am diabetic, or some, like, okay, maybe that's something you should mention to a doctor's office. Story 36 A desire to learn and basic critical analysis. My ex-wife's new partner attended a family gathering along with her. I have a daughter with her, and we parted on very good terms 12 years ago. She gets on with my wife and my family, but I confess him coming to my family events is weird, but hey. We were talking about a recent Aurora event across the UK, and I stated, oh, I was reading on a science blog about. This is where he interrupted me in front of my family members to say, you read science blogs, and laughed mockingly. No one else laughed. I simply replied, which bit is confusing, the science or the reading? Of course he went crying to my ex that I humiliated him. Amusingly she replied, why did you try to belittle him in the first place? Which I appreciated. People's lack of desire to actually know which is available at their fingertips baffles me endlessly. Story 37. My dad is a university professor, and the amount of requests they get to switch the analog clocks to digital ones in the building to reduce confusion is astounding. Story 38. I have coworkers who cannot read an analog clock. I work at a daycare. These people are in charge of keeping children alive, but don't know what time it is. Story 39. Middle school math. It's been embarrassingly obvious with the tariff and market news. I've seen so many Trump supporters confidently defending a drop in 10 of value, followed by a gain in 10 of value, brings you to the same value, showing the mathematical proof of that being incorrect. Changed zero minds. This is basic addition and subtraction. Work shown, they still say you're wrong. Alternative facts don't work with math, no matter how hard they try. Story 40. You'll spare everyone the long story, but in short there are a lot of people who can't tell times. It's crazy to mirror a whole entire adult who can't tell time. Wow. Story 41. Reading comprehension and media literacy. The number of times I've had to explain to people plot devices, even for media that we've already seen or read multiple times, to some of my friends is baffling. Story 42. Cardinal directions in relation to their immediate surroundings. People look at Google Maps all the time, but if I mention anything like so just east of insert landmark here, in a conversation some people look at me like I'm some wizard. Story 43. Spelling. When I would administer typing and spelling tests for candidates applying for a job, the spelling errors made by grown adults who graduated from American high schools was astounding. Story 44. How to figure things out for yourself. We're so well equipped to do this more than ever. This relates to what's reported in the media as well. It's so easy to go and watch something from the source and form your own opinions on it. Instead, people read news headlines and repeat it in conversation like they're experts on it. Story 45. General life admin. Knowing how to do laundry, cook proper food for yourself, keep your living space reasonable tidy. The amount of people I've met who are close to 30 and haven't got a clue how to do any one of or all of these is worrying. Story 46. How to stop talking. Seriously, shut up. It's kept me out of so much trouble. You're not good enough to help your case. You're doing nothing but making it worse. Just stop. Story 47. Empathy. I remember learning that How to Win Friends and Influence People was literally just a book about recognizing that other people are real humans with real emotions who like to be acknowledged as such. It explains so much about the world, namely that people have to be taught this and their first instinct is to use it to exploit others. Story 48. Common sense. Don't get me wrong, I was probably in my late teens by the time mine kicked in, but the most basic concepts of common sense are lost on so many. I experience it at work, on the road, by the government. It's a nightmare out here. Laundry. Cooking decent food without starting a fire, ruining cookware, or risking foodborne illness. Not bankrupting yourself absent unavoidable like sky-high rent, major medical, etc., or racking up insurmountable credit card debt. Lighting a fire with basic tinder newspaper, and matches. Like, I get it's a whole skill to use a flint or fire drill or whatever, but matches and newspaper should be a no-brainer. Story 49. Critical thinking. As well as continuing to develop into the best versions of themselves they can be, seems like a lot of people only develop so far, mentally plateau, and think yeah that's good enough, then proceed to let the rest of their flaws or nasty habits fester into truly horrible things. Edit spelling. Story 50. Basic pattern recognition and problem solving. I had two rather intelligent users call me the other day. They were trying to close a financial period in our ERP. The system said the period couldn't be closed because of unreleased documents. They were totally lost. I asked if they had clicked the unreleased documents report button that was right there on the screen they were on. What do you know? Story 51. Using Google to search for information. I know several people who would ask me about stuff that can easily be searched online. What's the capital of Indonesia? What are the lyrics of Endless Love? How many kilometers in 1 mile? It's mind-boggling to me. Like, what else do they use the internet for other than to log on to Facebook? Story 52. Learning how to learn. So many of the people I see going through life just don't gain any new knowledge, only experience, and experience is what you get after you needed it. Story 53. Sewing. Not even particularly well, just knowing how to put a button back on your shirt or fix a hole in your favorite pair of pants. I still have random articles of clothing from friends I haven't seen in years that they gave to me to fix or use for scrap, whichever was easier. I'm still determined to fix most of them now that my machine is repaired for the pieces that are in more tatters than others. Story 54. Knife sharpening. I'm a senior, but I learned to sharpen a knife when I was 6 years old. I taught all my kids around 8, and my grandkids as well. Based on the number of knives I sharpen for other people, for decent money I do not advertise in any way, all word of mouth. 98% of the population have no idea how to do it, or how easy it is to learn. I don't know if no one has ever taught them, or they would rather throw 20 a knife at me to do it for them. Either way, it's absurd. By the way, the number of professional chefs I sharpen for regularly would make your head spin. A lot of their knives are in absolutely awful condition. Too many of them watched some TV chef with a butcher steel. They never get them sharp with one you can't, but they make up for that by beating expensive blades to death on them. Story 55. Being aware of others around you. For example, my husband and I play pool at a pool hall. There are close to 20 pool tables. Many times there have been open pool tables across the room. Sure enough, a large group of half a dozen people choose a table next to ours. I'd really like to know what goes through a person's mind. Hey, let's not pick that empty table surrounded by other empty tables that can accommodate our large group. Let's crowd out that couple over there all by themselves. Story 56. I once dated an economics major from a very expensive private school who would crumple up and throw away the carbon copies in his checkbook. He had no idea what they were for. Story 57. Financial literacy. Like the most basic levels, I do a lot of BI reporting at work and I'm routinely stunned at the number of adults, like full 40 to 50, who cannot tell the difference between an invoice and just a piece of paper. How do you get to that age and still not know if something is an invoice?